The Indianapolis Motor Speedway playing host once again to the SCCA National Championship runoffs this year in its 58th running. So great to have you with us. Our broadcast coverage presented by Mazda. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Larry McLeod, and we are looking forward to this one. This is the last chance qualifier for Spec Racer Ford 3. And again, there's a look at a Spec Racer Ford. And real quickly, Larry, just tell us a little bit about these cars. Spec would tell you the one thing, they're all identical, but what else do we need to know?
These are they're a Ford-powered spec chassis built by SCCA Enterprises. They are identical. Everything is sealed. The engines, the transmissions, the shocks, can't make those kind of swapping parts kind of thing. Everything is absolutely spec. You can do unique alignments and some other things to them, but more or less, these things are going to be pretty much the same things out there on a spec tire. The 1.6-liter Ford motor powering these things got about 135 horsepower to them. In fact, they are dynoed before they're sent out to each owner, so that's how close these motors are, which gives you an indication exactly how tight the racing is, because the cars are not the factor involved. It is all about the driver.
No aero adjustments. The only thing really you can adjust is suspension settings. Just setting up the car.
It's just a minor setup things to make it good for you as a driver. And the only thing about aero in these things is they will tuck underneath each other really, really well, and you will see draft trains just 1, 2, 4, 7 train cars long for these cars, and that's what they do best. But at this kind of a field, it's going to be any kind of a game here going down this front straight again. A lot like we saw in the Miatas. I think we're going to see the same thing in the Spec Fords. A lot of jostling for position, a lot of pushing to draft to get down here, and it's going to be a fun race.
And they're sturdy. They're sturdy cars, these are, so they're not afraid of, as my friend Calvin Fish would say, a little argy-bargy on occasion.
They do get themselves a little bit of bumping going on to get themselves in the right positions. The only thing they always have to watch for, luckily the temperatures aren't too hot today, is if they start from the rear car, start pushing into the front car a little bit too much, they will close that radiator inlet a little bit, and they can start to run some temperatures up. So they do have to watch for that with them. But other than that, yes, they are a pretty sturable beast that they are out there running around. That's why these cars have been around a long time, and they continue to race them because they do last a long time. And a lot of these guys have been in this field forever, but what we have here is a lot of rookies in this field.
As we were looking through it, we realized there's only a couple of drivers that have significant runoffs experience here, and the others, as you said, it's either their first runoffs or maybe second or third. Yeah. Not a lot of experience in this field. Dwight Ryder, this will be his 8th runoff start. Same for Peter Jankovskis. But the one guy I might be keeping an eye on here is Chris Curran. This will be his 14th runoffs, but he is already, he's sitting in the 9th spot, so he just has to sort of hold station. Same story as for the Miatas. Yeah. Top 12, where you can find a seat in the grandstand tomorrow.
Yeah, and this could be, again, like we talk about with so many rookies or maybe second runoffs, first times in Indy, they're still kind of get really straightened up to how this track works and what the right groove is around this place. We might see, like we did in the last one, somebody coming from that 18th, 20th into that fight for 12th. We could be looking for a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so someone like Chris Curran is going to have a fight on his hands. He's in 9th, but he's going to have to work pretty hard to continue to hold on to that for the entire 15 minutes.
Starting grid, scrolling across the bottom of your screen, and you make a good point, because sometimes when you've got a rookie, obviously you'd think the veteran with the racecraft will be able to pull it off. But you know what? The thing about a rookie, they don't know any better. They don't know they can't do it.
Exactly.
So sometimes that's what you'll see.
And just because you're a runoffs rookie doesn't make you necessarily a rookie behind the wheel. You could have been running at regionals and some other races quite a bit before you get out here to the runoffs. So there's a lot of veteran experience that way, or they may have come from other classes. So that's what makes this sort of field very interesting.
And to get here, you have to go through a season of racing in the Summit Road Racing program to qualify for the runoffs. And there's a few different ways you can get here, but you don't get here without putting in a fair number of races already during the season. So as you said, you've done a lot of racing. It's just not up against the very best of the best in your
And it may not be here at this track, which no one ever gets a chance to run anywhere. And so a lot of these guys are learning with every single corner that they get to take. They're going to try it a little bit differently. They may learn something. So as this race develops, we just might see someone from the mid to the back of the pack find themselves near that transfer spot.
It's a good point. It's not like this is on the SCCA schedule during the year.
Exactly.
Last time the runoffs, anybody in SCCA raced here, unless it was in some different series, was in 2017 when the runoffs were here. Just to keep that little rookie thing alive. The top 5 cars going down into turn 1 runoff start between them.
Between them all.
So it's going to be this is going to be interesting. Let's just put it that way. I think it's going to be fascinating. And when they dropped this new spec engine in the back and it became SRF3, it gave these cars just enough where they're really responsive. And before it was nothing but momentum. There wasn't a whole lot of launch when you get on it. Now they get up and go a little bit, and they are just a treat to watch race now.
And we're about to see all of them, 24 of them, I believe, get up and go quickly and see how wide they go into one and who can hang on to that 12th spot in 15 minutes.
Chicago Region's Dean Cunningham in the black number 69, bringing him up with Connor Sanda, number 73 out of Western Springs, Illinois, another Chicago Region young man on the outside with the smiley face. He hopes it's still smiling when this one's over. We're green! 15 minutes of fierce action, and how about that? 1, 2, that's about 6 wide. Coming down the front straight, heading into a tight corner. Damage already in the back. Somebody got into the back of somebody. So here we go. Nice move by Sanda. Was able to get the jump, swings across. He's into the lead, but now 3, 4. Couple of guys touch there, get forced wide. The number 65, one of them. Yep, one of our more experienced guys.
The other was Peter Jankowskis. Yeah. He's in the number 6.
2 of our more experienced guys getting together and having a bit of a problem. Oh, an aggressive move there. Thought there might be a little bit of a touch. Somehow they avoided it. That was Neil Kiley, the number 84. So now things are settling. We've still got a little bit of side-by-side here. The number 88 trying the outside. That's the 66, excuse me. That's David Jackson. Well, see, this is what I love. Side-by-side, that's about the 4th corner that they've done that with. Now they let things settle a little bit. All the way through that 5, 6, 6A complex. And up front, a little bit of a breakaway.
There's just a little bit, but where they're fighting there for 66 and 159, Scott Reimer and David Jackson, they're fighting for about 10th or 11th spot. They got the order here, so they know that it's desperation time. They don't want to give anything up, but at some point they keep doing this, they're going to have a lot more friends coming up behind them to take their spots away.
Boy, great start by Reimer. He started 16th, and he's up with Jackson now, who started 11th. So, boy, that's the kind of start you want to have. Working their way through this incredibly important turn. Well, this is up into 12, where you jump up in the banking and you turn down off of it here. And this is the corner down into 13. You really don't want to track out all the way to the outside. Whoop, number 29's gone around.
David Yan.
Boy, that's unfortunate. Dave Yan out of Hartford, Wisconsin, Milwaukee region. This is only his 3rd runoffs. Here we go, up and onto the banking. And we're going to let you know right now who sits on that bubble here. And it is the number 84 of Neil Killy. Number 84 of Killy with the 40 of James Nelson. Right behind him, that is that transfer spot. Field working through here. Number 28, Kurt Breitinger. Right in that group. He is running in 5th. Having a nice early go here. Started 6th, has been able to move up a spot. Going to the 0-1, that's Chris Curran, who we were talking about. He sits 9th.
One of our more experienced racers in this field. Started 9th, currently 9th. Not getting comfortable yet. Neil Killy, we talked about him. He's currently on that bubble in 12th. James Nelson right behind him in 13th. Started this race in 22nd. He's made his way to 13th to try and chase down this pack in front of them.
Full course caution has come out. So won the breakaway. Up front will be eliminated, but more importantly for Killy, who had a little bit of a gap built up.
It's all gone now.
It's history, absolutely. He's got to be going, no, don't do this to me. James Nelson behind him in the number 40 is grinning a little bit larger.
Yeah, so they've been doing this week here at Indianapolis, where they do these full course cautions without any kind of a safety car.
Yep.
They slow the field down enough just to get the hot pulls, to get whatever the car is stranded out of harm's way, and they will go green as soon as that's clear. So they're not necessarily waiting for the field to grab it. I'm not sure these guys realize it's a full course yellow.
Yeah, we've got a number of, now I think they just saw it.
Yeah, and giving those spots back up.
And they're waving to the workers going, my bad. I'm back. This is where I'm supposed to be.
A little bit of red mist flowing, I think.
Absolutely. Well, those workers, it's a big old piece of rear deck.
It is, yep. Those do tend to pop loose when hit just the right way.
Well, we
don't see a number on which car, but I think we'll be able to find it once we see it on camera. It'll be the one without the deck lid.
And they do tend to pop off And we did see that car. There he is. We saw the car with the damage to the front.
It's Steve Spano, the number 117 out of the Glen region out of New York.
Yeah, and if he may well be the guy that got hit by the car in the back, and it lasted a lap, and then it finally just let go.
He's going to stop and ask for his bodywork back? He's about to drive right past it.
Yeah, he's really close.
Hey, guys, could you just clip that back on for me? Thanks.
Snap that on, and maybe leave the back up. Give me a little stick.
Pretty quick cleanup, as you can see.
Yeah. So just confirming now that everybody goes through. So at this point, it shows the 57 of Craig Froder, which makes sense if you're looking at scoring here. The car just at the bottom of the screen, the silver with the green up and over the wheels. That is the guy who sits in the 13th spot, and that maroon number 84 of Neil Killey sits in the 12th spot. Driver out of Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania, but runs out of the Colorado region in the road racetracks entry. Here is your race leader right now, the 73 of Sanda, and that smiley face. I think it's almost winking right now. You had that great start.
Yeah, it's a pretty happy, a little extra smile in the smiling face right there.
Great run. Exactly what he wanted to do, and the three of them had that little breakaway going.
And that's gone too. So we talked about the breakaway between 12 and 13 that's evaporated. You have the same thing happening up front, which gives the folks that are sitting in 9, 10, 11 a shot to say, those guys aren't far away from me now. Maybe I can go 4 wide into 1 and make a couple of spots up. As we do, in fact, have the pace car actually out there with the field this time.
Yep, they brought it out, but we get word from race control, green flag this time by. And as they come by, it's probably going to be around 8 minutes of racing yet to go. So we thought 15 minutes for a shootout was
It's going to be about a 4-lap sprint or so here.
They get around here just under 2 minutes. And it's, like we said, a 2.6-mile track. So they get around here pretty quickly. They really, with that new engine we talked about, it becomes really snappy. And, one of the things, aero's not huge on these cars, but there is that little bit of a flow to that rear deck lid. And it does help in some ways. It also helps close up air behind the car. And right now, as you pointed out, the 117 Spano without that rear deck. One of the things you get a little concerned about sometimes is cooling, too, because, things duck through some of that bodywork.
But with him, I think he may find himself a little bit loose going into 1. Because that rear deck that does help the air a little bit. So we'll see what kind of position he holds.
All right, safety and pace vehicle is going to be returning to pit lane. And here we go. Sanda, Cunningham, Sox, Ike, Breitinger, Wheatley, Anderson, Bryn, Current, Jackson, Reimer, and Killey up in your top 12 with an anxious group led by Craig Froder, James Nelson, Mark Fogarty, David DeBolt right behind them as we are going, looking up, watch the flag stand just off to the left there as they come up. We're back to green. And as you would expect, just for an instant there, Dean Cunningham, the pole sitter, took a little bit of a look and then decided, no, let me just tuck right back in here. But behind there in that area is exactly what we were talking about. And look at Killey way down to the inside trying to protect and maybe pick up a spot or two. He may have done just that. But the problem is, when you're that far to the inside, Larry, you're outside of the guy you're trying to pass his mirror view. And so far, everybody being smart and slotting through. It was 3 abreast at through 2 right there. That's impressive.
Yeah, Killey did, I think, make a couple of spots up. We'll see exactly how many in a second. But he was running up there with Chris Current, as we saw there in the 0-1, who I think was going into that point about in that top 10. So there's a lot of movement going on. Everybody thinking it's an opportunity. It's the 117 there without the bodywork. Spano probably going to get walked on a little bit. But we're going to go 2 wide onto the back straight.
66 Dave Jackson working that outside in that black with the beautiful turquoise top to it. Here's your group up front, top 2, making that little bit of a break. And boy, I'll tell you what, Killey has moved up. Yeah, you're right, a few spots right now. 3 abreast through 7. And the guy who lost that was the 117 Espano, and I think you nailed it. Oh, the 08 of Andrea King out of Minneapolis in the Land O'Lakes region has found the gravel here.
I don't know that she's going to be able to get out of that.
Yeah, that's tough. And there it is, another full course. But I think you were spot on. Steve Spano, did you see how early he had to get on the brakes going into 7? He just had no stick at the back. Watch what happens here. Ooh, she got help.
Just a little bit, a few folks there.
Yeah, that's the number 65, a Dwight Ryder, as we said, one of our more experienced guys.
So one of the names that's down the order, in fact, you saw it in that shot, diving through some of the cars spinning, was Paul Miranda, who started this up in 4th. Right now finds himself down in 21st. So you talk about just trying to hold on to those front couple of rows through this 15-minute session. And Paul, unfortunately, right now is back a little bit. He's got some work to do. He's got to go past, around 8 cars to get into that transfer spot. And it looks like we may only have 2 green laps to do it.
It sounds like, yeah, and we didn't see what happened with Miranda. He just he got shuffled out somewhere. You know, with a pack like this and the cars being identical, it is so easy to get freight trained, and a big group comes through, and then you're just off in the marbles and the grip. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How about that? Killy went from 12th to 8th on that restart.
He did.
What a launch.
And was able to hold that line on the inside. You said he had to brake so early because he's kind of on the wrong side of the track.
Yeah.
And he probably had the best head of steam going in there, but was able to hold that position and kind of keep the folks behind him, like Dave DeBolt, Ben Bren, and Chris Current, who was actually up there before, holding on to that 9th and 10th spot. Now finds himself on the bubble just ahead of David Jackson and Nick Doinoff.
Well, how about this? DeBolt, when he came up to green, was 16th.
Yeah.
And he just followed Neil Killy and went, well, if he's going to do it, I'm going to go one way to the inside, jump from 16th to 9th. Now, that is what I think you might in the dictionary, that could be the definition of
Definitely took one there.
Yeah, followed his walking back beautifully. Here's the 0-1 now of Current, who is on the bubble, and he's got to be thinking, what happened on that restart? It's just not supposed to be like that.
He's on that bubble. He's in, but he's going to have about 10 cars behind him that all want that spot when we go green again. So he's going to be checking his mirrors. I'll tell you what, not the easiest visibility behind these cars. You see how these mirrors kind of stick up and out on these, like, you know, pendulum things, and hard to see around that bodywork, but he's going to want to take a couple of looks at that as they come onto the front straight when they go green, because he's going to have a flood of Spec 4 Gen 3s behind him.
Absolutely. There you see the 0-1 of Current. That is the last transfer spot. Keep in mind, David Jackson, the 66, out of Kenosha, Wisconsin, Milwaukee region behind him. David had started up in the 11th spot and just got shuffled back here, so you know he's going to be anxious to get after it at this stage. The 3 of Nick Doinoff and Spano, who's doing everything he can to just hang on to the back of that thing right now.
So that number 3 of Doinoff, you see the black card there, 3rd in the shot there. Started this 23rd out of the 24 in this field. Currently finds himself at 14th, just 2 spots away from the transfer there to get into the big show. He'll be trying to get around, as you mentioned there, David Jackson, and that number 66 right in front of him.
And if you look at the nose of Doinoff's car, he has not been shy maybe about using the old chrome horn here.
I think he has just a little bit, but you know, that's part of the game out here. You do have to get a little bumping to get the speed going, and sometimes you bump too hard, there you can see it. His arrow is not clean.
Yep, not at all.
But he's got the one behind him whose rear arrow is gone. So between the two of them, they've got a pretty
great
good car.
All right, here we go. Going green once again with 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 2-lap shootout. Here we go. And a big move right there by your pole sitter Cunningham. Tried to roll into it early. Actually, he had to back off because he went too early. And that's going to allow the 35 of Bob Sachs to take a big run in that blue and green machine. And he's got a blue machine in the number 43. Greg Ike right behind him. And again, look at Killy way down to the inside. Tucks in behind the number 98 and hangs on to it of Craig Wheatley. A little bumping and going, and Killy still working the outside. Look at this, 3 abreast again through turn 2. And the 0-2 right there, giving a little bit of a squeeze job, Ben Bren, to dissuade the number 16, who's right up alongside of him, Mark Fogarty. Here we go again through turn 4. Big arcs, 2-3 abreast. These guys know this is it. This is the moment.
And some of these guys probably don't know what position they're in. They just know they're fighting for everything. It's Dave DeBolt there taking a little bit of extra grass on the apex at 6.
Yeah, he's risking big, and I think he's the one who started 16th. Well, I'm not sure.
Look at big spin and contact at the back.
Yeah, and I absolutely. I think DeBolt doesn't realize he's in a transfer.
That's Chris Current right there, the number 0-1, who was in that transfer spot. He's the one that got hit there coming through 7. And we're going to go yellow again, and we'll see if there's any green to be had.
That's a corner. That's a station yellow, and that's a wide corner back there. So they might just be able to let him go. But for Current, that's got to be absolutely gut check. Oh, nope, we are going back to full course. And that would mean that this should finish the way it is right now. And with all of that activity, we're going to have to see who ends up where.
Start counting cars.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, that 117 of Spano might find himself pretty close to it without a rear body. Wonder what he's going to weigh across the scales.
Well, that's the other side of it. But DeBolt, well, I'll tell you, I mean, with DeBolt, you know, he had jumped up smartly. Spano might be in a transfer spot. And that's a good point about the regulations, but if it's a bodywork piece that gets knocked off during the races, the checker is out. They have thrown the checker, so that's it. Realizing that this was done anyway, it was going to finish under caution, so let's just throw the checker.
I think it might be the 159 of Reimer that might be 12th, but we're going to wait and see what timing and scoring has to say about that. It's right
Looking
in that
at it
range
right
of the
now.
bolts.
Yeah, it shows Spano in 13th on one of our scoring monitors, but it may not have cycled yet.
Might be Reimer in 11th, to Bolt maybe in 12th, and Spano might be just outside.
Oh, that would be gutting because, you know, he was hanging on to one loose race car. There's the 70 of DeBolt. And again, started the previous restart 16th and was 10th by the end of the lap. He and Killy were just stunningly good on the restarts.
So they're showing DeBolt 12th, but again, this is all kind of unofficial because I believe he's behind Spano, who's shown in 13th on timing and scoring.
Right.
So you've got this, you know, with under yellow, somebody may have just been kind of alongside trip the start-finish. Yep. So it's going to be a steward's discussion, I think, about who actually was ahead as the full course was out.
Yeah, Asanda started second, wins it from pole sitter Dean Cunningham in second. Sachs, good run to third. And then Greg Ike fourth in the 43 and the 98 and Craig Wheatley are your top five. And then right now we show Neil Killy. And again, that just a couple of fabulous restarts by Neil. Jumps him up smartly. Then Kurt Breitinger in the number 28 would be seventh, the 93 of Richard Anderson eighth. The 02 of Ben Bryn in ninth. And the 16 of Mark Fogarty sitting in that 10th spot. After that, honestly, we're not quite positive on that top 10 other than the front runners here. And we'll let scoring settle one more time. But I'll tell you, for Connor Sanda to get after the pole sitter like that and then survive some restarts, it's a great run by Connor.
Yeah, and as you can see, not easy to survive anything, whether you're on the front of the restart or in the middle of it. It was not easy anywhere. I want to mention a couple there. Fogarty, you mentioned right now, shown in 10th, started this field here in 17th. Scott Reimer, currently shown 11th, started in 16th. So there's a couple of guys that were able to kind of survive those, we think, to maybe move on. But it's we're not quite official. We're going to wait and see what timing and scoring has to say.
And even though we didn't make the transfer, from what we know right now, I want to shout out to Nick Doinoff. Started in the remarkable 23rd spot. Ended up battling for that last transfer spot, and what we show him right now is in 14th. So great run for him.
Great race all around. This is just classic spec Ford. Everybody's fighting. This is all about the driver racecraft in this sort of race to try and make up those positions, to get the right jump at the start, and to hang on to it and try to make those moves into one. And great race.
And up at the sharp end of things in particular, that top 8 or so, as we talked about, Larry, a lot of first-timers at the runoffs, or people with only their second runoff start, and they grasped the big picture. You didn't see lots of fighting. They just tried to stay in line. It's the old adage, especially with long straights, 2 cars running together are faster than 1, 3 are quicker than 2, and they just absolutely refused to scrap. They at the start they'd look and go, okay, it's not going to work, and tuck in and just drive away. Good stuff.
So a couple things there. Top 4, all rookies. The top 2, Sanda and Cunningham. I believe both are Chicago region, and I would suspect they've run some races together. And we talked about who's your dancing partner. I think they may have run races together, and that might be why those restarts, they were so good to not, step on each other because they knew what's at stake.
Very good point. Now, this one you just had to be in the top 12. When we get to Sunday's national championship runoff race, it's all about the win and the podium, and you might dance with your partner up until 35 minutes. And then
the last 5,
you will pummel him into oblivion if you have to, because it's a national championship. There's a look now at the top 10. Fogarty made it. Was a great run for Fogarty. And then we show currently behind him the 159 of Scott Reimer, who started in 16th, makes it up to 11th on a transfer, and David DeBolt in 12th. That means Spano would just have missed, and that is frustrating, but nonetheless, an absolutely great run by Spano again with a tough car. He's a complete rookie. He had 1 top 10 in majors competition in the Summit Road Racing program this year. More to hear from that guy as well. Let's go back, Larry, take a look at some of the highlights. And it was Cunningham on pole, the black number 69, but Sanda just got an absolutely fabulous run, and behind him it went 3, 4, 5, and then 6 wide.
And somehow they made it through that first time, but then it didn't totally stop. They went from 6 to 5 and then 3 wide, and then we had a couple of incidents here at the back where people still just jostling for position.
Then we had the restart here, and again, Sanda able to hang on. You can see Ike right there, Sachs in that 35, taking a big run, was not quite able to get around. There is a look at the number 70 at DeBolt, who would come from 16th to 10th on that restart in an absolutely stellar launch. Then in the background, there you can see Current. He got spun, and then somebody in avoidance ended up just clipping the rear deck. And at the end, that brought out a caution. And we finished under yellow, and they threw the checker a lap early. It was going to finish that way anyway. And our 12 to advance now decided 72 cars on early Sunday afternoon will be going for the national championship at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Spec Racer Ford. For Larry, I'm Greg Creamer. It has been a treat to have this little double entendre, if you will, in terms of a little teaser for what's coming up. It's been great. It all starts tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, as we get underway with the official Haggerty Race Days and the 58th running of the SCCA runoffs. The broadcast for the entire weekend will be brought to you by Mazda. We'll see you tomorrow.